For months, the government has been warning about the dire consequences to our armed services were sequestration to go into effect. Well, doomsday has come and gone. Where do our troops stand, and will Washington ever be able to get anything done, especially in a timely fashion? Joining me now, California Congresswoman Karen Bass. She is a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congresswoman, it's good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Two upcoming fiscal deadlines. March 27th for the budget, May 19th for the fiscal cliff. This is what the president said yesterday about the state of communications across the aisle.
Washington sure isn't making it easy. At a time when our businesses have finally begun to get some traction, hiring new workers, bringing jobs back to America, we shouldn't be making a series of dumb, arbitrary cuts to things that businesses depend on.
How optimistic are you that Washington will actually be able to come to a bipartisan agreement on these other major deadlines coming down the pipeline, and possibly with some time to spare?
Well, I will tell you, several weeks ago I was much more optimistic than I am now. I didn't believe that my Republican colleagues would want the sequester to go forward, but now it seems as though they have embraced it. I do have to hold out and be optimistic and say that we will get a deal done because we absolutely have to. The government can't be shut down, and these cuts cannot go into effect. But I have to tell you that people are already feeling the impact. I was with constituents in my district yesterday, a woman who had already received a furlough notice, a health clinic where they were already getting ready to reduce services to 3,000 patients. So, you know, this is already hitting people and hitting people hard.
The president spent much of the past month or so launching a very public campaign in an attempt to try and shame Republicans at least to do something about the sequestration, but it didn't work this time. Why not?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that it has. What the president was doing, in my opinion, was his job. He was going out and he was talking to the American people, and he was saying, in your state, in your city, this is going to be the impact, so you need to reach out to your congressional representative. I think it was very, very important to do that, for him to get out of Washington, for him to hear how it was going to impact and encourage people.
But the pressure didn't come, and if it did come, it wasn't intense enough to get your colleagues to do anything.
Well, I think it wasn't intense enough to get them to do anything by Friday, but I do believe that the pressure is going to continue to come to bear, and it's a sad thing to say, but you know, sometimes some people need it to reach the point of near disaster before they will be willing to move. I think this is so unfortunate. I don't understand why the Republicans would put their own constituents at risk just to hold on to their ideological argument that they don't want to raise revenue, when any economist will tell you that this needs to be settled with a balanced approach.
Why do you think the president waited until yesterday to meet with congressional leadership about this?
Well, I mean, I think he's in conversation with leadership, whether it was a formal meeting over at the White House or not. But, you know, they've been very clear. If they state right away that they are not going to bend, that they are rigidly not going to entertain revenue, what was the point? So I think that we'll see more meetings happen, and I do hope that inside those meetings that there is some give that is taking place. Maybe Speaker Boehner can't come forward and say it on a camera, because you know, every time he says something, his caucus comes after him. I mean, how outrageous is it for his caucus to say that they forbid him from meeting privately with the president? This has gotten completely out of hand.
Yeah, you're right, but the speaker has adhered to it. The speaker is following, or at least accepting, the advice of the caucus, and if that is going to be the case going forward, what does that mean for governing?
Well, what it means is that the speaker has essentially abdicated his leadership to his caucus, and his caucus is running him. That's not the way it should work. They elected him as their leader. They should allow him to lead, but that's not what the situation is. It might come to a point where he has to put his leadership position on the line, and I think, frankly, it would be a bold and courageous thing to do, and he could go to the American public and say, look, we're going to go for a balanced approach. You know, just the other day, we passed the Violence Against Women's Act, and we violated the Hassard rule that says that every single Republican has to vote for the bill. And the bill passed with majority Democratic votes. That's exactly what needs to happen here. He needs to break that hard ideological stand that all of the Republicans have to be on the same page. He needs to put the votes together with Democrats, and we would be able to solve this crisis.
Congresswoman Karen Bass, I also know you just got back from Mali. When we get you back next time, I do want to talk about what you saw there in that country.
I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you, Congresswoman.